Hello YouTube, and today I'm doing my top 6 Tom Baker stories. Now there will be other Tom Baker stories in this video, which sadly didn't make it on the list. Yeah, this video has been in the pipeline for 2 months now, and it's taken me a bit of time to narrow it down. So yeah, so if we start off at number 6, we have the Sontara Experiment. Now what I like about this story, it's got a good location set on Dartmoor. It's got this nice isolated feel to it, and this nice sort of big backdrop with the wilderness with the jagged rocks, and yeah, this is a nice, quick, easy story to watch. So if you have an hour and before you have to go out somewhere and you want to watch a Doctor Who story, an old-fashioned one anyway, classic, and I suggest you watch this because it's only 25 minutes. Well, it's a two-parter, so you know, 25 minutes each part, so 50 minutes, and you know, you've still got 10 minutes to get ready or whatever. Part 1 has an excellent cliffhanger. The Sontara now has a sort of pet, this robot, which I'm surprised actually can sort of function on the Dartmoor sort of location. Yeah, so it's nice to see the Sontaran in a different sort of time zone instead of seeing it in medieval Britain. Yeah, the companions are Harry and Sarah Jane. This is a really good story. Sontaran and the Doctor have a fight. Field Major Steyr has a fight with the Doctor, and that's not Tom Baker because Tom Baker broke his collarbone, I think. Okay, so at number 5 we have the Seeds of Doom. Yes, I like this story because it uses different locations. So in the first 2 episodes, I believe, is in Antarctica, and then you go to Mr. Harrison's chase, sort of what big sort of mansion, or he calls the Green Cathedral. I think that's the section of the house he called, where he stores his sort of plant collection. Tom Baker is very action-packed in this story. This shows that the 4th Doctor still has the 3rd Doctor sort of in his mind, you know. And it's nice when you get these stories, you know, because you got Tom Baker jumping through windows and smashing and packing a punch, very much like the android invasion. So Tom Baker's quite badass in this story. Yeah, so we've got the Crinoid, a nice idea. Again, using plants just to scare kids. Yeah, this is written by the same person who wrote Terror of the Zygons, who was Robert Stewart Banks. You got the person who plays Scorby, who played no, you got John Chelsea, who plays Scorby, who is best known for playing Boise in Only Fools and Horses and Green Grass. What else about this story? Mr. Harrison Chase, he's a brilliant villain, but it's quite interesting how he sort of bows out of the story. Now, I'm not going to spoil that if you haven't seen the story, but let's say it's quite horrific. Okay, so at number 4 we have the Robot of Death. Now this is Doctor Who doing a murder mystery. Now I find the Vok robots very iconic to the Tom Baker era, because if you look at the figures, there are quite a few Vok robots out there, probably because they're easy to make and do variants on. The setting, the sand miner, is really great, using isolation. Again, works very well because the crew is being picked off one by one. Yeah, the sets are brilliant. It's, you know, it's quite luxurious for a sand mine. You think it would be all quite grubby and dirty, but it's quite luxurious. I don't know if there's any pictures there, but I don't know if you can see it just about there. They are quite luxurious sort of cabins. Okay, at number 3 we have Sharder. Now this story isn't finished. It wasn't finished filming because of the studio strikes. We've got brilliant location filming all around Cambridge. We've got 2 TARDIS in this and 2 Time Lords. And there was a clip featuring the Doctor and Romana and the 5 Doctors. Yeah, I like the monster in this weird sort of cold sort of monster. Don't know if you can see because of the glare, but it doesn't have the monster on there on the back. Yeah, you really do get a good feel what the story could have been like with Tom Baker doing the linking narration. I really do like this. It's a really great, good story, and it has a really good Tom Baker moment when he's being chased by this weird sort of spherical sort of thing. What would try and suck his brain or get his power or whatever. And he's on the bike and he rings the bicycle bell as he goes past the choir what singing. And I find that quite funny, you know, but he's facing imminent death, yet he has still the courtesy to go, "Hello, I'm the doctor. Nice to meet you." Yeah, number 2, we have the Pyramids of Mars. This is what I like about the Philip Hinchcliffe era. It's really sort of gory and horror-ish. You know, it really sets back what Doctor Who is. You know, meant to scare kids. It's, as I said, it's quite horrific, especially with these mummies. You know, I don't know if it's on the back, but you've got quite a few deaths in this. I mean, you've got the servant of Sutek killing that Egyptian person. Don't know if you can see because of the glare, but there, the one with the weird sort of mask. Yeah, I like the use of history, you know, using the Egyptians, you know, with the Egyptian curse. Yeah, it's nice to use Mars because that's quite a typical thing where we think aliens are from. Now, the way the mummies kill, you know, crushing that old man, I find quite scary, you know, but, you know, even though they're slow, they can hunt you down. So that's just brilliant. It's a really good story. It's quite fast paced. So now we move on to my favourite Tom Baker story, which I keep on talking about, and it is The City of Death. Now, I like this story because it's set abroad. It's in Paris, and they actually did go to Paris to film, and we got the Louvre, and they're studying the Mona Lisa. We've got Julian Glover playing Scaroff, the last of the Jagaroff, who is brilliant. I find him really good. He's a brilliant villain. Yeah, I just really like this story. It's just always one what stuck in my mind from Tom Baker's era. Yeah, and it's sort of all based around different times. Like the Doctor visits Leonardo just to see what happened, just to put "this is a fake" on the numerous sort of copies of the Mona Lisa or something like that. I know that was in like the prison. And we've got Duggan, who was that detective, I think. We've got a wonderful scene in this when the Doctor meets Scarlione and his wife. When he gets pushed by that butler, and he's like, the Doctor's like, "Oh, you've got a wonderful butler. He's so violent." I really do like that scene. It's so cool. Okay, so yeah, I would recommend this story. It's got some funny moments, and it's just one of the best sort of stories for David Graham Williams era produced. Okay, other stories what didn't make it on the list but are still worth mentioning. Logopolis, Tom Baker's final story. Genesis of the Daleks, it's worth putting on there because, you know, first Davros story, and it shows how the Daleks came to be. This terror. Ark in Space, Tom Baker's second story. Yeah, good story. Tom Baker's first story, Robot. Doctor Who meets King Kong, really good. Face of Evil, Leela's first story. Again, really good story. The Talons of Weng Chiang, another great story, set in Victorian London. Again, quite a horrific story, with this giant rat what lurks in the sewers. Yeah, it really does play. That story really does play with Jack the Ripper, you know, with Gil sort of being killed. The Brain of Morbius, as I said, I might not have said, using this is a Hammer horror story. Doctor Who does Frankenstein, as I said, Philip Hinchcliffe era, and Robert Holmes sort of make some really good horror stories. And lastly, The State of Decay. Not many people would agree with me on this, but I find it a really good story. Written by Terence Dicks, who I find is an absolute legend in Doctor Who. And I like the whole sort of idea of vampires and the Time Lords fighting vampires. Yeah, and storing blood in the rocket fuel tanks. I'm not going to go into this because I really want to review the Space Trilogy at some point. Yeah, so that's been my Tom Baker selection. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully the next one will be Peter Davison, which I've already got a list, and for Colin Baker. So that video should be up soon. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.